Hi, all. Welcome to yet another Cool podcast series where we discuss global SaaS adoption trends, AI trends, GenAI trends with global industry leaders and AI leaders. And today we have one such AI leader, analytical leader with us, a very special guest, Rahul, who has earlier worked at Walmart and currently, serving as a director analytics at Barracuda Networks. So let's welcome Rahul. Rahul, thank you so much for joining us today. It means a lot for all of us. And that too at a weekend. Welcome, Rahul.
Thank you, Nageshwari, and thanks for the invite. Thanks for the opportunity for this discussion.
Pleasure is all ours, Rahul. So I gave a very brief introduction about yours, Rahul, but we would like to, our audience would like to hear more about your journey from, Freshworks to eBay to Walmart and now at Barracuda. If you could throw some brief, light on your career journey, Rahul.
Absolutely. So for me, analytics happened by accident.
Okay.
Uh, I'm a electronics and communications engineer by education,
Okay.
and post my engineering, it was just a matter of coincidence that as I was sitting through the placements, one of the analytics firms came to the campus for hiring, and I had an inherent interest in mathematics since childhood. And
Okay.
when they presented about the firm and the role, I saw a huge inclination towards mathematics. Uh,
Okay.
and that's how I took interest, applied for the role, got the job, and then since then have been in love with numbers, data, and analytics, and have been with the space. Overall, I have little over 13 years of experience, uh, and I did a full-time MBA in between, so that's 2 year career break. First 3 years of my career were in pure play analytics firms, service-based firms. That's where I learned about concepts of analytics, application of analytics, and then post my MBA, I have been working with product-based firms, doing in-house analytics. Last 6 years have been in leadership roles, leading, driving, building teams and analytics solutions with them. I'm currently working as a director analytics for Barracuda with Walmart,
Yeah.
where I spent time in building analytics teams and solutions across various different business functions.
Sure.
And before that, I was working with Freshworks, uh, and before that, I was working with eBay. So
Yeah.
primarily, if you look at my experience, it's been in retail e-commerce space,
Yeah.
with my current role being in cybersecurity space.
Sure. So this looks very interesting, Rahul. You're shifting from retail to cybersecurity. So currently, what is your role at Barracuda Network?
Sure. My role is to build analytics insights and solutions for various different functions of the organization, be it product, sales, customer success, marketing, and so on.
Sure. Okay. No, that's a wonderful, shift. So Rahul, your space, majorly your career journey in the analytics. I'm sure you would have been in the digital transformation, phase. So would like to hear from you, how is a retail industry responding to this digital transformation journey, Rahul? And what are the major challenges you faced initially in the digital transformation journey?
Sure. I think to begin with, any change comes with some form of discomfort and some form of resistance, right? So I think not just with digital transformation, with any change, I think uh, you usually see organizations first taking a lot of time gaining confidence in what is the value that the change will bring, and then slowly start adopting, and then the pace of adoption increases.
Yeah.
So, typical approach is you start with putting together a pitch, uh,
Okay.
and that transforms into a POC, a proof of concept,
Okay.
uh, and then uh, you present that to your leaders, stakeholders, decision makers, and then make take one use case, establish end-to-end solution, and then scale it across the organization. Typically, that's how
Yeah.
the transformation occurs. Digital transformation is no different.
Yeah.
In a retail organization, typically, what I've seen in my experience, digital transformation starts with that online space, and
Mhm.
then goes into the offline space as well. More recently, the type of digital transformations that's happening in the retail industry is particularly with large retail organizations, is integrating the physical and the digital
Yeah.
space together. So, digitizing the various facets of the offline businesses as well, and then integrating all of that, let's say, be it supply chain, be it inventory management, be it customer support, uh,
Yeah.
uh, aligning all of these
Inventory. Mhm.
functions for both the physical and the digital businesses, wings of the business for the organization. The key goal uh, typically in these transformations is one, generating efficiency,
Yeah.
uh, and which essentially means to the same level of output with lesser cost,
Yeah.
right? Uh, it also opens up a lot of opportunities to learn from like online business and then apply them in offline,
Yeah.
offline business and apply them in online.
Mm.
Uh, from an analytics perspective, it opens a huge scope for additional use cases, additional implementations, because a wider net of more holistic net of data is available around your business to take decisions which can impact your business holistically, digital and
Correct.
physical together.
Can you share any interesting, case? Because you said that you kind of prepare the POC and then take it. Because similar thing I had with Group CDO Aditya Bilai when he mentioned the same, that they prepare an experimentation thing, and then they test it when it is working. So a little getting curious, Rahul, which part of the value chain was it? Did you check it initially? Was it the CRM or the inventory or the predictive analysis? I mean, which part of the value chain did you try it initially, and how it worked out for the other verticals, Rahul?
Sure. I think the one of the easy use cases to begin with is customer support.
Okay. Yeah.
uh, Irrespective of whichever streams of business the customer is dealing with,
Mm.
the type of problems, especially, and not to say whole of customer support, but specific areas of customer support, maybe customer support related to transactions or related to orders.
Okay.
These For a customer purchasing it online and offline,
Yeah.
usually the type of grievances or the type of concerns or questions that they have for which they would reach out to the organization are not too different between
Yeah.
physical and digital. Sorry,
Correct.
physical and digital business,
Digital. Yeah. Mm.
right? So typically, that's one area where POC could we have seen POCs getting done,
Nice.
integrating the businesses, integrating the digital integration and
Yeah.
digitalization of customer support for these areas.
Sure.
One interesting area where I've recently studied a lot and I've recently seen is holistic 360 attribution.
Oh.
So a lot of times what happens is, I mean, it's uh, as a concept, it may be, I mean, it's not a new concept. It's been there for a while, but then it wasn't that easy to implement it. Uh, uh, let's say a few years back, as
Oh.
organizations are integrating their digital and physical businesses together,
Yeah.
achieving this has been a little bit more easier.
Okay.
Now, what I mean by holistic attribution is, let's say if I'm running a digital marketing campaign,
Yeah.
uh, I know who saw my campaign, like what was the impression or reach of my campaign, and
Okay.
then who ended up purchasing digitally.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, what happens, even with you and me, it would happen, right? That we would see a physical ad and we would purchase something online.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
could see a digital ad and purchase something offline.
Yeah.
Uh,
The first thing is more in my case. I see something physical, I purchase more digital.
Correct, correct, right? And then you see a lot of campaigns as well, which are digital,
Mm.
where the idea is to attract customers to the physical stores,
Yeah,
right? And so this convolution keeps on happening in
correct.
our world, right?
Yeah,
Now, attributing a digital uh, campaign to, let's say, a physical outcome, and or vice versa,
yeah.
I think that is one area, one possibility that has been unlocked
Okay.
with the digital transformation,
Okay.
particularly integration of physical and digital businesses in the retail
Okay.
space.
So there's
It's
a
still not perfect. I mean,
yeah.
there are solutions that are being built.
Mm.
Uh, Maybe it's still not perfect. There is more room for opportunity, and we'll I think as an industry, these solutions will keep on getting better and better.
Yeah.
But we have seen leaps and bounds of better holistic attribution solutions in recent years.
Sure. So you mentioned about the holistic 360. Is it a name of a, I mean, is it a tool or it's in general you
No,
mentioned?
I'm saying generally a
Okay.
solution, like a holistic attribution, right? A physical
Sure.
digital attribution.
Sure, sure, Rahul. Now, this is very interesting because you have preempted my so many other questions which were related to data analytics and Gen AI. But I will just keep that question later. I'll go with the flow. Uh,
Sure.
Now, how do you see the retail industry is leveraging the data analytics? The especially the customer persona into their organization on everyday basis. At the same time, maintaining the security compliances and the private and security compliances, Rahul. And in the previous question, I asked about the challenges. Were these the challenges you faced initially to maintain?
So
Yeah, please.
correct. So let me answer that first, right? So challenges, I think the first and foremost is integration with the legacy systems.
Okay,
That
so
includes the people side of things too, right? Whenever you
what
want,
was the challenge? Was it the time, the skill set of the human resource, or how? What was the major challenge?
yeah, I think understanding how the new technology or the digital transformation will integrate with the legacy systems that are
Okay,
existing without
okay,
disrupting the day-to-day business. Think of it this way,
okay,
right? Uh,
okay.
these type of transformations, I sometimes use this analogy, right?
Huh,
These type of transformations are like you are trying to fix a plane
okay.
when you are flying the plane,
Oh
right?
my God.
So it's tricky because you cannot stop the business, right? You cannot say, okay, I'll just
Wow,
close
that was
for
okay.
6 months, right? And then make sure everything is aligned, it's working with legacy systems, nothing is broken, and then I'll restart my business. It doesn't work that way,
Yeah.
right? Let's say if your car broke down, or if you want to do some enhancements to your car,
Mm.
you actually give the car to your dealer, uh,
Yeah.
and then you don't use that car during that time
Yeah.
when the upgrade is happening.
Correct.
But with a business, it cannot run that way, right? So
Sure.
that is a big challenge, and
Okay.
how to execute that, like what technical expertise is required,
Mm.
feasibility. Usually there are some things that you have to let go, right, in terms of some capabilities, right, and you gain some more new capabilities. So assessing impact of all of these situations, that becomes so overall all of this combined is integration of legacy systems, right? So this becomes
Okay.
a major challenge. The second one, particularly with digitization, right,
Yeah.
is cybersecurity. Now, as soon as you expose different parts of the business to
Yeah.
digital world,
Yeah.
the cybersecurity risks increase. So,
Yeah.
what governance model do you have? What governance are you building around those systems
Mm.
uh, to uh, again, one part is the compliance part, but more
Mm.
than that, I think you want to ensure your data is protected.
Data is protected. Yeah. Mm.
protected. So, assessing the cybersecurity risks and putting a policy and products in place uh,
Mm.
to address that. I think that's the second one. Uh, the third one is cost wise most, right? But we end up sometimes thinking about it in the end is investments, right? So there's a cost involved in this entire transformation. So defining the ROI, right? What
Okay.
ROI this investment will generate. That usually isn't like a simple equation, right? So
Mm.
you have to come up with an estimate. So that itself becomes a big project of defining the ROI for a digital transformation. Uh, then comes the people and training part. Now you have moved to a new tech. Now you need to train people, and you need to maybe hire more people, uh,
Okay.
right? So that is additional cost. So
Oh my God.
investments that go into it could be the other challenge. I hope I answered that.
No, no, majorly, actually, it is like, it is very interesting. So many things are opening up, and I want to learn more. How did you uh, figure out all this, when it comes to the ROI? And you mentioned a very important point, right? ROI. So maybe I'll invite you for one more kind of workshop or somewhere where you take us more deeper into how did you come into and how did you overcome all those challenges.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's never a single person effort. So in an organization, you work with different teams who are experts in their fields, and then they help guide you through this through a bigger objective.
Hmm.
So yeah, but happy to do that.
Sure, sure. No, thanks, Rahul, for that insight and sharing the analogy was very powerful and could relate actually. And yeah, now moving on to, as I asked, the data analytics, how the retail is leveraging. Yeah,
Sure.
because because I, came up with a very interesting example from in one of the conferences, one from the BFSI. He mentioned, they used to keep the beer bottle next to the diapers because it was a turn of, to that extent they were very closer to the customers because it was the turn of fathers to take care of the kids in the night. So to that extent, so if you could throw some, such in, examples or use cases where customer data analytics really gave a strong bonding with the customers. Sure.
Yeah, so I'll probably touch upon a topic which does not maybe adhere to the traditional beliefs,
Sure.
uh, but I'll try to explain it in the best of my capacity.
Sure.
Uh, I think one of the use cases that's really coming up, particularly with the advent of AI and for analytics teams in retail organizations, is personalization.
Hmm.
Now, there is always an argument that what do you mean by personalization? How are you guarding personal data of customers?
Hmm.
Right? There's a compliance side of it. So, and on top of it, we keep hearing about these concepts about hyper personalization.
Yeah.
Right now, how does hyper personalization work
Yeah.
in line with, let's say, compliance or security of individual customer data? Right? So let's maybe talk about that.
Sure.
Right? So hyper personalization, or let's say advanced personalization, let me call it advanced personalization, right? With
Yeah.
the advent of AI, and I'm talking about it purely from an analytics, data science, AI
Sure.
perspective for retail. Uh, Hyper personalization does not necessarily need to be individual level, right? So when I, or maybe advanced personalization, what I'm talking about, when I talk about that as a use case, or that's one area that's coming up. What I'm not saying that okay, I'll probably know me or you as one single customer.
Yeah.
Right? What essentially that means is, with the advent of all of these new technologies coming up, uh, for analytics data science teams, one area that has opened up is uh, you don't need to get into personal data of customers, but you can still do hyper personalization by
Okay.
defining micro and nano segments, right?
Okay.
Traditionally, when we used to learn analytics, we used to learn concept of segmentation, right?
Yeah.
But these used to be very very broad segments, right?
Hmm.
Maybe you pick up three, four factors or 10 factors, and then you create customer cohorts.
Yeah.
So that way, you're not using personal data of customers; it's average data, right? So
Okay.
you, let's say you're targeting all customers of a particular cohort.
Yeah.
Now that worked initially, but then that became a bit too general after a point, as
Sure.
personalization
Okay.
matured. Now with the new advancements that we are seeing, particularly with the use of GenAI, that opens and unlocks capability to create micro and nano segments. What that means is they are still cohorts, which
Okay.
means you are looking at a set of customers, not one customer individually, but
Hmm.
then uh, those cohorts are much more specified, like much more narrow, right? And there are more type of variables or more type of indicators, customer indicators on which you can build these cohorts, right? For example, I'll give one example.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm talking about retail industry in general. That's how we are seeing that industry moving. Uh, Maybe few years back, we could create a cohort which said customers who bought product A, right? Now we may be able to build cohort based on entire customer journey, like customers who
Oh,
did step one, step two, step three, and then step four in that sequence. All customers who did that, I want to target these customers to do
okay.
step five, right? So this is this is an example of like a micro or a nano segment where you're really going deeper into customer behavior and making it hyper personalized or advanced, very very specific personalized to the customer journey.
Hmm.
And this these capabilities now become much more easier with the advent of AI.
Yeah. Okay. That is very interesting. How so this also indirectly helps in predicting and maintaining the inventory better, Rahul. The entire value chain is indirectly getting
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you talk about value chain, it hits multiple different
yeah,
places.
it's complex, yeah.
So, starting with, let's say, inventory management to customer experience.
Hmm.
So, you can predict inventory better. You can, uh, and in a retail organization, it's not just about predicting inventory, right? It's also about stocking,
Yeah,
and placing them at the right places geographically to make the process efficient, to make supply chain efficient,
yeah.
right? So, uh, and with inventory and supply chain, I always tell people, right, that uh, when we talk about customer experience, or let's say, taking an example of an e-commerce business,
Hmm. Yeah,
right? There are few some standard steps that customers take, and
yeah,
there's a happy path, right? With supply chain inventory management. It's actually the other way around, right? The data is not that detailed. Right?
okay.
The volume of data is not as much as, let's say, the amount of traffic that you see on a website.
Hmm.
But then the variety of data is huge. There's
Okay.
multiple possible happy paths that can happen, right? Any operational data, right, works
Hmm.
this way, right?
Okay.
That you can, from step A to, let's say, D, step 1 to
Hmm.
4, there
Hmm.
may be multiple paths that uh, the process can take to reach from step 1 to step 4. All of them might be correct, right?
Okay.
So in these situations, areas around risk management,
Okay.
areas around automation of different workflows,
Hmm.
these are some use cases which are getting solved in an easier manner using AI.
Okay. Mhm.
And
And
then comes, let's say, the last mile delivery.
sorry,
Uh,
last
last,
mile. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
right. So last mile delivery, I think the key areas of focus. I mean, it's all in the news now. So I think autonomous delivery.
Yeah.
How do you make that possible? Autonomous delivery itself is not a new concept, but implementation of that in
Hmm.
a cost-effective way, mitigating the risks. Risks could be human-related risks. It could be external factors like weather, traffic, etc.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you do that in a efficient manner? That has become uh, much easier with the advent of AI. So a lot of research around how do you make drone or those
Drone. Yeah.
autonomous deliveries. Drone
Hmm.
could be one example, right?
Yeah.
Uh, make practically possible, right? I think that
Okay.
those are some more innovation areas that's coming up.
Were you already working? I mean, is something already it's in the experimentation or the research mode already in the organizations that you worked on earlier, Rahul? I mean, were you part of
Uh,
it?
I can't talk about like specifically about the organizations where it was
Okay.
part of, but I think in general in the industry, we do see news coming up on research
Yeah,
happening
yeah,
on that
yeah.
delivery.
So this is in the kind of research, and this might be the because this was my second, the next question about Gen AI, right?
Yeah.
Like because you have been in the industry, in the analytic industry, more than a decade. So, which is something that you're really excited about, and how do you envision the future of GenAI, especially in the innovation area for the retail? Uh,
Yeah, so maybe let me take a use case of customer experience, right? I think, see, there's a very broad question, and then I feel GenAI is touching all aspects of businesses. Uh,
yeah.
all the
Okay.
things that I spoke
Yeah.
about, right? Let's say
Mm,
supply chain,
mm,
last mile delivery, they are all future innovations. Not saying that organizations have solved it already. Maybe
mm,
some organizations have, but uh, uh, like I don't think it has become industry standard yet, right?
mm,
So there, those are maybe future innovations where research is happening now, and we'll probably soon see actual implementations coming up. I think some areas where we are already seeing progress, where we are
yeah.
seeing those implementation happening,
Mm,
is customer experience,
yeah.
right? And specifically customer experience on the retail side of things. And let me take an example of online businesses.
Yeah.
One area which is really coming up is content generation.
Yes.
So, right, how do you leverage Gen AI,
Mm,
right, to maybe summarize description of the products to highlight what are the key aspects that you want to highlight to a customer,
mm,
right? Maybe personalize that depending on who is the customer, right? Typically, what you see is, let's say, if I or you open an e-commerce website, both
yeah.
of us will see the same description, right? Can we summarize that in a customized way for me and you, depending on our preferences
I prefer.
or past purchases?
Okay.
That's one. Then usually, retail organizations have a lot of user-generated content in the form of product feedback.
Feedbacks. Yeah.
Right? So, how do you summarize insights out of that to show
Okay.
to the so that it enhances the customer experience, right? I don't have to go through thousands of customer feedbacks.
Yeah.
Maybe I can just pick the summary or the key points that
Mm,
AI is generating for me.
okay.
Uh, One interesting area that is really coming up is sourcing of content, right? So I may be selling a product, but
Uh,
then it's a lot of investment for me as a business to create engagement content around that product. Let's say in the form of videos.
can you share an example?
Yeah, yeah. So we have open video platforms, right, where
Yeah.
we can see videos. There's a lot of
Correct.
social networking
Social.
platforms.
Yeah. Yeah.
So AI is actually unlocking power
Okay.
to
How to? Okay.
source, let's say,
Okay.
content from these social networking platforms into their platform. So customer, from a customer experience point of view, let's say I am looking at a product on one of the e-commerce websites.
Mm,
I could potentially have access to user content in terms of, let's say, engagement videos, right? Like how to use the product, how to install the product, not
yeah.
just by the retail organization, but maybe sourced from other social media platforms as well, all in one place, right?
Okay.
Now, uh, before AI, somebody would have to manually look at it, right? Like
Yeah.
manually put the links.
Yeah.
Now AI is probably unlocking the capability to automatically figure out uh, the content from multiple different sources and then get it all together. All of
Correct.
this in a way enhances customer experience. If you see a lot of content, uh,
Yeah.
it encourages you to make the purchase, right? So ultimately, it increases the sales for the organization.
Yeah. We normally see this with the influencers and how it is, the social media influencers. Yeah, right. So you mean to say that the GenAI is able to automatically track who can be the right, social media, and they are kind of organizing the content better to make the sales more efficient. So that is something that, and even actually, I thought that you were very excited for that delivery part, the drone and all which you mentioned. That is something which is sounds very exciting for me. Now.
Yeah, all of these are innovations, right? So even the content sourcing part, uh, uh, there is still probably as an industry opportunity to make it a standard product, right?
Sure.
But these are the areas where we see the research happening and where we could expect proper industry standard solutions to come up soon.
Hmm.
Autonomous delivery is also in the same bucket.
Sure. Sure. Very interesting now. Now, see, I understand that, we spoke about AI and, Gen AI and even data analytics. There's a lot of, experimentations happening, and there are a lot of, you even mentioned POC. So being in the GCC space, Rahul, how do you see, when it comes to the collaborations with the existing SaaS platforms whenever there's a skill gap in the organization? So, how is your experience so far collaborating with the third party vendors, Rahul?
Sure. Can you elaborate on this a bit more? Like
So
when you
no,
say
what I mean to ask is, have you ever outsourced or, taken up collaborating, services from the third party SaaS
yeah,
platforms, for example, let's say for the cost optimization or for testing?
sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I think at least in my experience, typically when the collaboration happens, it's the primary reason is expertise. Uh,
Okay.
and so let me uh, let me share an example around this, right? So let's say if we want to onboard a new technology.
Hmm.
Uh, this technology could be like a new software or a
Yeah.
new tool for a specific use case. Like let's say if I want to onboard a new tool for dashboarding, right?
Yeah.
Or if I want to onboard a new technology for uh, my database management,
Yeah.
right? So these are some examples, at least in my space, right? AI
Yeah.
analytics space. There could be use cases in other spaces as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Typically, the GCCs would look for technology partners when they see that there is a technical expertise required, right? In getting that integration done. Uh, how this happens is one, uh, it goes through evaluation. I think
Okay.
the first criteria that GCCs would look for is technical expertise. Of course, that goes by default, right?
Yeah.
That's
Obviously.
the purpose of the
Yeah.
partnership, and,
Yeah.
the technical expertise, technical proficiency. Some examples of previous
So
successes. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry to. So this I normally ask with the other GCC leaders also, Rahul. So is it because the way you're, I mean, uh, so is it, the metrics you already, preempted my question. I was about to ask what are the metrics on which you're selecting. So is it you look at the, large players, should they have a decent track record, or even small players, but who are ready to customize? So if you could share, the metrics on the size. Yeah.
Got it. I think it is never a criteria between large or small.
Okay.
It depends on the use case,
Okay.
right? Uh, there are use cases where very very standard solution is required,
Okay.
right? And uh, ultimately, one of the key factors is how well. Okay, let me talk about the factors first, right? Maybe that
Yeah,
will help
sure. Sure,
in
sure, sure.
in this process. Uh, Technical expertise we have spoken about. The
Yeah.
next aspect is integration. So,
Okay.
how well would the third party integrate with the GCC? Right.
Okay.
This integration is tech integration, people integration, collaboration,
Mm.
right? That's the second aspect. The third aspect is support, right? So the partnership never ends with just implementation of the solution.
Okay.
There's a lot of support required. Support in
Okay.
terms of training, support in terms of let's say if something breaks, right? Support for that. How flexible, how well is the SLAs around that defined,
Okay.
agreements around the support defined. Uh,
Okay.
I think that becomes a big factor. One of the factors is also financial stability of the third party vendor, right?
Okay.
None of this would work out. Let's say the if there is very low confidence in the financial stability of the third partner, because everything may be on the paper, but maybe let's say a few months or years down the line, if the organization itself doesn't exist, then it becomes a risk, right?
Yeah.
So that's an important criteria. Culture is very important. So culturally, like how the third party operates, does cultural integration work with the
Yeah.
GCC? I think that's also a key factor. Uh, all said and done, one of the most important parts is security and compliance. Because be it any form of partnership, there is exchange of data and information. So, how well is the security and compliance set up and structured and followed, right?
Okay.
All these three things. I think all these four factors that I called out are the factors on which the partnership decision is made. Now
Mm.
coming to answer your question, right, on large or small players,
Yeah.
uh, depending on the type of use case, uh, I talked about integration, right? Integration is
Yeah.
most important factor.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are existing, especially with large organizations, right? There would be existing systems in place,
Yeah.
right? And the requirement could be a very very standardized solution, uh, and the requirement would be to optimize on time, right, rather than anything else.
Okay. Yeah.
So time to integrate.
Yeah.
So maybe some players are better placed
Mm.
for a straightforward integration,
Okay.
right? Which saves on time, may not save on cost,
Okay.
right? And sometimes the use case may be very very customized,
Mm.
uh, right? More often than not, more recently, that's what we are seeing because of the Gen AI, right? Even the industry is changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
So uh, sometimes the use cases are more customized, where
Mm.
efficiency play is more, right, than the time for
Mm.
integration, right? So depending on which of these factors, or no, in any of the partnership, we will never be able to optimize on all of these factors together. We'll always
Obviously.
have
Yeah.
to
Mm.
prioritize which one do we want to optimize more than the other, and the
Okay.
partner is also picked or selected or evaluated in the same framework.
Got. Rahul, can I go one step deeper into
Sure,
this?
sure.
Uh, could you share, because you touched upon so many factors, right? Integrating factor and their culture, their the financial stability. So just to, just to double click on the financial steps, so do you mean that they should be funded from a decent VCs and a good teamwork and the good, track record of the team? And
So,
hmm,
yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
so, is my understanding right about your financial stability
Got
part?
it. Got it.
And the second is if you could share a very good use case where you collaborated with, for let's say, for a technical, or which was the area where you actually collaborated? Was it for the technical expertise, or the integration, or the customization? What was a very good experience about that team? Was it their delivery or the finance or their extremely custom? I mean, their adjustable nature. What was it? And a very not so good case study, which can be, because our audience are majorly the SaaS founders, so this part can be really helpful, Rahul, in thinking strategically, what works and what may be the red flag, Rahul.
Absolutely. So, to answer your first question was around the financial stability.
Financial, yeah. Was it my
So, yeah, let me elaborate on that. Right. So, one, I think past successes, past examples are very important. Right. They provide that additional confidence in an organization to partner with or to select a particular third party vendor or partner. References work very well. So
okay?
typically, what I also recommend a lot of SaaS organizations when they reach out to or they are looking at partnering with GCCs, right? Uh, Try to find one use case, right?
Okay.
And put your engagement in a way where you're creating a customer champion for yourself, right? Instead of going wide, maybe pick one domain, one area where you do initial discovery. You put a lot of time in the discovery with that particular stakeholder of that particular area. So you really understand what is the objective the stakeholder is trying to drive, right? And what value you can add in driving their objectives, right? And have a win with them. Establish a POC, establish a solution, and then have a strong win with them, and then they will become your custodian for the larger. If you want to scale your solution to other parts of the
Mm.
same organization, they will be your custodians to do that.
Mm.
right? When I was starting my analytics career, uh, I always like people used to tell me this one statement, right? That it's always cheaper to retain your customer than acquiring a new customer. I think
Right.
this works in the same way where uh, a SaaS organization, if they already have a tie-up with with a large organization, but let's say one of the divisions of that company, it's
Mm.
much easier to scale within that same organization to other divisions than, let's say, partnership with a whole new company, right? And then because
Okay.
some of the integration, some of the ways of working culture are already set, right?
Yeah.
And this is the way to do that, right? Build your customer champion who can be custodian, who can speak for you to the wider company.
Sure, sure. So, according to your experience, Rahul, what it takes to champion the product inside, and how does the org structure works? Because GCCs are you really dependent on the HQ for the to finalize, or how does the org structure works, Rahul, when something has come to the state, I mean to the exact champion, and how does it take it to the HQ and make it happen?
Sure. So, depending on the size of the solution, most of the organizations, right, would have a model in place where they would have a structure that, let's say, a solution which is very big will have certain set of stakeholders. So there would be a process map, right?
Okay.
Like for a big solution, these are the steps or these are the stakeholders that you have to go through.
Mm.
And for a smaller solution, the stakeholders could be fewer, right?
No.
So it's a mix, like I said. Getting that understanding for a SaaS organization is ideal, right? And typically, when you start interacting with organizations, you can get some idea around that. Uh, the way this usually works is whichever department that you are partnering with, they would first put a pitch to their leadership,
Okay.
right? Then if it's a technology partnership, then that goes after that pitch comes the POC, and
Mm.
that POC first gets signed off and aligned with the CIO, the
Okay.
chief technology officer, right? So
So the
CTO,
CIU, the
CTO.
local, yeah, CIU or the CTO, local CTO or the HQ level CTO, like
Again, depends on the process
okay,
map that the
okay,
organization has defined.
okay,
There's no one single model that all companies follow. It
mm,
varies across the organizations.
obviously. Mm,
Now, after you have got the technology alignment,
mm,
then you need to understand who is going to fund for this one.
okay,
Typically, it's someone from the business org, let's say someone from the finance org,
mm,
uh, and before. So typically, when you go to a technology partner, you are still talking about the utility of the product, right?
yeah,
Uh, then comes the ROI calculation,
yeah,
right? And that's where a lot of work happens. Where
okay,
before you take it to the business teams,
okay,
you need to have very clear understanding of the ROI of the
got
investment,
it, okay,
and then that's how the process works typically.
sure. So I understand most of the GCC in India are the cost centers. So do we, when
Not
it,
really, not really, right? So
not
I
really,
think many years back, maybe when GCC started in India, that was the model.
okay,
But GCC in India have come a long way. No more are GCCs in India considered I won't say it's across the board, right? But it has
mm,
come a long way from let's say pure play backend offices to like technology centers, strategic partners to the larger organizations. Right now, we have enough examples where the GCC in India would be driving end-to-end solution for the global organization.
sure.
Right. So I think it has come a long way. Uh,
Mm.
uh, but yeah, I mean, there's always room for doing better.
No, absolutely. I totally, agree with you that, it's now we are more into the innovation and R&D, and even if I can share an example, the Michelin's group CDO, she's, sits in India. So that's a wonderful growth which is happening, obviously. So what I meant to ask is, if it is a cost center, then showing the ROI by reducing the cost is something will also excite to the stakeholders, Rahul.
Um, could you elaborate on that a bit?
For example, what I meant was definitely there is, a lot of growth happening. But if the GCC is a cost center, right, who are majorly working on the, cost aspects, then how do they define when if they are collaborating with some product which is helping in reducing the cost? So for them, the ROI definition will be to the extent what they are reducing the cost of the, let's say, a cloud or data, right? No, I'm just
Uh,
sharing the example.
Yeah, you can say that in a way, but that's what I meant when I was explaining the structure also, right? That's why I did
Okay.
not mention cost as the first factor,
Sure,
because
sure. Okay.
typically, like if let's say if you are going for the cheaper solution but it doesn't integrate, that doesn't
Mm,
work, right?
mm,
So typically, first the other factors get evaluated, and all those partners who get let's say who went through the evaluation, passed the first
mm.
set of factors, then comes the cost, right? Okay, we have four partners who can do all those
No, no,
things.
no, I didn't mean the cost of purchase.
Okay, okay.
I meant the reducing the cost, for example, cloud infrastructure, cost optimization tool, which can, reduce the overall cloud infrastructure. In that aspect, I see.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I think yeah, I got your point, right? So ROI could sometimes be related to reducing costs.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be related to increasing my sales,
Mm,
right? So depends on what's the use case for that particular partnership, right? Either ultimately it's efficiency play, right? You
yeah.
drive more sales with the same cost, or
Yes.
uh,
You
sorry,
reduce the
yeah, or you drive same sales with less cost.
less cost. Yeah.
So depending on what is the use case in that particular scenario, you can pick the example.
Sure, sure. And any red flags, Rahul, which you experienced in past and you want to share it here?
Uh, sure. I think without naming the organization,
Yeah.
what I can talk about is uh, typically like some of the things when we discuss about partnership agreement support, right, or expertise. Uh, sometimes what I've seen actually more than once it has happened uh,
Okay.
that and there's a typical red flag, right? It's that uh, what is committed is not delivered later, right?
Okay.
So and my own learning, right, or through this experience was I think as a consumer of the service, enough research needed to be done to understand if, let's say, the third party or organization can
Mm.
cater to the promises that were provided at the time of partnership, right? These
Mm.
could be related to with respect to the level of support. Let's say though the third party does not even have enough support manpower,
Huh,
uh,
huh.
so those are certain red flags,
Oh.
right? Let's say the one of the expectation is technical expertise, right?
Mm.
But let's say the organization does not have enough technical experts on board,
Mm. Yeah.
right? So based on those experiences, I think typically the process that I follow is whatever is the requirements, we
Mm.
also do due diligence to understand how the third party is planning to cater to those requirements,
Okay.
right? And what are the risks that they see with these? It could be as simple as, let's say, attrition risk, right?
Yeah.
A third party could have, let's say, a few experts,
Mm.
and all of them could decide to leave, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so not because of their own anybody's fault, but then typically every organization would have a risk mitigation plan. So
Yeah.
understanding the risk mitigation plan for different scenarios,
Mm.
enough discussions on that needs to be done, and those are certain examples from my experience.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. That's so useful, Rahul. I think we are approaching to the towards the end of the podcast. So I will ask a last question, which I asked most of my guests, is what are your hobbies, Rahul, and how do you keep yourself abreast in this, AI competition and GNA? Which are the books that you read, or which are some of the articles or blogs that you read?
Sure. So I'll talk about my professional and personal hobbies maybe
Sure,
separate. Uh, but yeah, I think the interest is more on the professional hobby. So let me focus on that. Uh, so I love engaging and talking to people. I think things are changing so fast that the best way to learn is learn from others, learn from your peer group. So I try to stay connected with industry analytics community uh, by attending conferences or being part of certain membership councils, right, where I have access to broader community,
yeah,
uh, right, more senior community, more senior to me, my peers, my juniors, all of them, right.
okay,
And I try to attend and engage typical community meetups or activities uh,
okay,
to keep myself up to date on what's happening, right? And
okay.
whatever I learn from there, then I go back and then I do my own research
Hmm.
to further enhance my knowledge on that.
Yeah.
I from my own experience, this has worked for me because otherwise it's a wild goose chase, right? That
Yeah,
you can read about anything and everything in the world, but
ChatGPT.
this way at least I'm able to understand what are the areas which are coming up, which are of the
Mhm.
interest of the industry, and then I read upon them.
Great. Okay. And your other hobbies?
Outside work, I am very active into sports. I play badminton.
Okay.
I'm part of a local club here.
Sure.
But yeah, I think, and I love traveling. So being in Bangalore, I think you get a lot of travel opportunities. So
Yeah, yeah.
I love to do that.
So that's how you're maintaining your work-life balance.
Absolutely.
Sure. No, thank you so much, Rahul. So many insights. I'm sure our audience are benefited profoundly with your inputs, especially the SaaS founders, and with your hints, where you gave about more detailing about, the different features. I most probably will invite you again for the workshop specifically on that area to, especially the ROI was very interesting, and even if there is a scope for co-creation and all those aspects, I would like to host you again for a kind of
Absolutely.
workshop. Rahul, thank you so much again for your time. uh, Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you, Nageshwari. Thanks for the opportunity. And yeah, let's keep in touch.
Sure.